Hello, and welcome to the Gaia update for the Leo new moon that happens on Tuesday, Wednesday, August 18th, 19th, 2020. Well, this Leo new moon is a powerful message to us about a new start, a fresh start, a new way forward. And that's all about shining our light, being true to who we are, and getting on our destiny path. The lining up of the planets for this Leo new moon is quite a combination of energies, because the sun and the moon come together. That's a new moon. It's when the sun and the moon come together, and they're in Leo, and they're also right there with an exact conjunction with Mercury. Now, Mercury is still kind of coming out of that retrograde energy of Cancer. Mercury wants to figure out what's going on, conceptual reality check, and Mercury in Leo is about how do we express, how do we shine our light, how do we be who we are here in our truth, live, create. And so the sun and the moon and Mercury together in Leo, very powerful. And they're in an exact trine with Mars, very close to Black Moon Lilith. And then Mars is still in square with Pluto for this new moon. So this lining up is just like so many messages about it's real now. It's time to get real. Maybe this is part of the Capricorn energy that we're still figuring out with all of this. 2020 is all about Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto together in Capricorn. And Capricorn, especially these end degrees of Capricorn, it's like, okay, get serious. And what we're being asked to get serious about is who we really are. Mars taking a retrograde and its home sign of Aries, and Aries is about this true self and this fight for permission to be who you really are. This is a core wound of the SuperNova Soul, because in order to survive for lifetimes, you had to disconnect, you had to pretend you weren't who you were, you had to live what everybody else had to do, and for survival, and to the point where now you don't know who you are. And this is part of the story of the SuperNova Soul. There's this bigger part of you that hasn't been able to land here, and get ready, because it's trying to come in. And that's what this astrology is speaking to. Because for the whole month of August, we're feeling the South Node directly on top of the Galactic Center in Sagittarius. And of course, the North Node opposing the Galactic Center. So our way forward, the North Node in Gemini, which is around communication, around balancing our opposites, around figuring out who we are according to other people, orienting. It's almost like if you're going to be reborn into who you really are, then you got to figure out who you are, right? But this South Node, Galactic Center, Sagittarius energy is like, there's some stuff dragging on you, and it's like, this stuff has been hidden for lifetimes. It's been happening. For the SuperNova Soul, it's like a pattern. The South Node, Sagittarius, has to do with what's holding us back from the past, around feelings around our destiny, our spiritual purpose, our path. And so it's like, if that resonates, in the SuperNova Soul, like all these lifetimes where you couldn't really be in your full expression because it wasn't safe, the people around you couldn't accept it, they couldn't deal with it, and of course you're feeling all alone on an island. Why the hell did you even come to this planet, right? And we're having all these feelings come up. So understand that this time is like a purge for the SuperNova Soul of all of these lifetimes where you felt these feelings. And it's like, so when it blooms up, it can feel quite overwhelming. But understand, it's like, oh no, this is a bunch of lifetimes of this feeling. And but this lockdown isolation energy, it's like pushing the SuperNova Soul deeper into these places. And that feeling over all these lifetimes where you felt completely alone on Earth. And that's not true this time. This time's different. Your destiny is to work with your soul group. Your destiny is to work, a lot of times, the SuperNova Soul through spiritual relationship. So we got to get back on the horse and get on with it, right? And that's a lot of what this new moon is saying. Get out of the past. Stop wallowing around in your island, you know? But understand that there's a lot of grief. Okay, so Venus is in Cancer and an exact square to Chiron for this new moon, bringing this energy of grief around these wounds that where you haven't been able to be who you really are. And when we are not who we really are, it's hard to receive nurturing, right? And maybe that's the thing, this Black Moon Lilith energy, it's like lies and hidden things, you know? And Pluto in square to Pluto, because Mars and Black Moon Lilith are in square to Pluto, and for this new moon, and it's like Pluto is these structures. So with Black Moon Lilith and Mars, it's like the structures that are based on the lies of who you made yourself into to survive on the planet. And it's like, it feels intense for this to come up because it's like deep repressed stuff that you've had a series of lifetimes where it's just about survival. You weren't able to do the deeper work of your destiny, right? And then it's always like you have to go into the new pattern or into the issue in order for you to find the issue, right? So the South Node Sag is like bringing it up to the surface. You probably didn't even know that a big part of your problem in this lifetime is feeling like you failed on your mission and you don't deserve nurturing or support or even deserve your spiritual purpose. And it's like, well, that's silly. Because you put a whole bunch of energy and like just to be here, what you had to go through as an advanced soul to be here on the earth, that's ridiculous. You are here for a reason, and this is landing home. And get out of the wallowing and make room for it and start enjoying. You know, part of the story of the SuperNova Soul, and this is really coming up with the Leo energy, because the Leo energy wants us to shine our light and be in our truth and express ourselves, you know, except for that if you were shutting yourself down in your power in order to survive, how do you do that, right? And so we have to understand that part of the way, this is very much an agenda energy that has affected the SuperNova Soul over, I often get around 10 lifetimes. So it's like, what if for the last 10 lifetimes, all of the relationships and people around you, your agenda was to try to be who you are and get back on your destiny purpose path, right? And their agenda is to keep you from it. And so, but there's something magical in this dynamic and understanding this, because first of all, it helps you set yourself free from the control-based relationships, because you're trying to figure out why it's so hard, why it doesn't feel loving, why it doesn't feel nurturing. And when you understand this dynamic of these lower personality constructs from these past lives, these people, they don't know what they're doing typically, right? You know, but the forces working through them are trying to keep you in those lower personality constructs. Go back to the trauma. Pull you back in that energy so you can never move forward on your destiny path and get back onto it, because you are that powerful, right? We got to let this validate us. And it's so interesting that the SuperNova Soul has such a hard time receiving their own light and enjoying their own energy, even though it's like they've been trying to manage it for lifetimes, you know? Trying to get it to fit in, not to be too much, not draw attention. And it's like, then now you've separated yourself so far from it, you don't even believe me saying that you have it. And, but then it's kind of like, wow, is it really true that there's all these souls that their agenda was to keep you from your agenda? Like to keep you from your light, to keep you from your path? And then it's like, it's like this powerful realization available of like, oh, that must mean you have the wealth. You know, if all these forces are trying to keep you from that, and then that must be something very valuable. And then it's kind of sad to think of these energies in your life, and as a SuperNova Soul, you've also taken on the energies of these people. Like they're holding you back, and then you're dealing with all of their emotional pain. because you're the garbage collector and all that. And, but it's like maybe part of the pain you're holding is that they don't have a path and purpose as like you do. Their path and purpose was to interfere with your path and purpose. And as you move on into your destiny, they don't have a role anymore. And they have to go through a massive ego death. And how much of you not letting go of your loyalty contracts and letting go of the old broken relationship patterns has to do with this feeling of responsibility. Like, well, who are they without holding me back? And then you taking on. So it's really wild because I see these supernova souls and they've got so much. You've got so much. You got this light. You got this power. You got this purpose. And yet you feel empty. And like there's nothing in your life. Everything's leaving because the tide's been going out. Because the old structures, the old things don't work for you anymore. And it's like, how come these souls have so much light and so much within them, and yet they have zero permission to access it? And that kind of goes right back to these relationship patterns. And there's definitely an energy that goes back to ancient times, when the elite class was the more intuitive class. And there's like a resentment energy. Like, who are you to have all that light? You don't get to have that. That's not fair. You should give it to us. And it's like, you can't do anything you want to do here or be anything of like the truth of who you are until you can contain, honor, and start to direct your ship, to use your light, this power, your light for what you want, which is this alignment with your greater spiritual destiny. So there is just it's like, these are deeply hidden subconscious programs that have been like so in the psyche it's hard to find. And this astrology is like, okay, time to look at it, time to bring it to the surface, time to face this. And it's not fun. Like, because you realize that every single person in your life was about trying to distract you. And then where do you go? Like, you have to go back to that island of isolation in order to move forward in any way. And it's like, coming at this time, it's a little bit intense for the supernova soul to deliberately choose to cut off relationship energies when there's, it's just, we're being so blocked in the energy of connecting with each other. And but they're just the alchemy of this astrology is so potent, and we need to take advantage of it, because the deal is like the message that's coming through for these supernova souls, like, you're only going to feel better. You're only going to feel all the things you want, like your job and your community and your relationships and all that. Like, you're only actually going to feel better when you resolve these last little hidden dark places around loyalties, relationships, and all that's been blocking you. You're only going to feel better when you start to contain and enjoy your own energy. And we've been programmed so intensely in our society that everything you need, you got to get from an outside source, right? And it just baffles me when I step back and look, working every day with these supernova souls and being like, you have so much. And I tell you about what you have, and your chart says you have this, all these experiences, these gifts, these talents, these skills, and zero permission to enjoy that energy, because you're codependently taking on the pain of the people around you because they have zero sense of self if they're not blocking you. And you're like, oh, I feel so sorry for them. And it's like, why can't the supernova soul embrace their own wealth, spiritual wealth? This is the wealth of our world, true wealth. And that's an interesting energy, because just before this new moon, Uranus turns retrograde, and we typically don't really feel the bigger planets while they're in retrograde, but while they turn, we do. And the energy of the bigger planets, slower moving planets turning, is that, like, Uranus has gone to 10 degrees Taurus this year, and that's as far as it's going to go, right? So it's like Uranus is saying, okay, we push the envelope on this new value system, on the awakening of true value, awakening of our new relationship to physical form, a new relationship to money and to wealth. And that's as far as we can take it. Now we got to like assimilate, we got to figure it out. And that's exactly the message of this new moon. Is this the sun and moon and Mercury together in Leo? Grab a hold of the light that you are. You know, the light that you are, and all these talents and skills and this passion, this desire, this energy around your path and purpose. That's the value in this world. That is the most valuable thing. And maybe that's why all those relationships throughout these last 10 lives have been about keeping you from that. And I'm seeing these supernova souls go to the edge of this pot of gold of who they are. You know, and at least, you know, Uranus at 10 degrees Aries definitely, or 10 degrees Taurus is like, oh, like at least you've seen allowed yourself to see a glimpse of this wealth, you know, and it's that same thing. It's like, okay, the supernova soul's like, oh, I feel so empty. I feel so alone, you know, and it's just like, you have a pot of gold. It's what everybody wants, and you've got it. And now you've seen a glimpse of it. And what are you going to do? You're going to go back and hide in underneath the rock for a few more 10 lifetimes? Let these people have their way with your wealth? Or are you going to grab a hold of that and get back on the horse of your spiritual destiny? And that's the energy of this new moon. It's like, hello, shining. We're told that like we have to go, you know, part of the control-based mechanisms around wealth and energy in our lives. Like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to earn it, you got to pay a price, you got to, you know, and it's like, what if you just have the pot of gold, you know? And that is the wealth of our world. We just don't know it yet. People don't know it, but you can start to own that and work with it and enjoy your own energy. And it's that thing of like, a lot of these control-based relationships are narcissist-based, where they're like feeding on you, you know, and you're like, I can't cut off their food source. Who will they be without me? You know, I can't like, you know, and so this is a whole new paradigm of relationships that's being activated. And, you know, in the Aquarian age, in the age we're moving into, it's a whole different way of relating. It's like, oh, I got my pot of gold, I'm connected to source, and let's share this together, instead of like, what can I get from you, and how do I manipulate and control this relationship to get what I need, you know? And it's like, even the you know, like across the board, we've been programmed. Even a lot of spiritual people, you know, still operating out of this ego-based, narcissist way of, you know, and this is part of the divergent timelines. It's like people, you can see how that energy is just really taking over our world right now. And if you're not going to stop and be conscious and pay attention, then you're in it, you know, and this is this divergent thing, also making the supernova soul feel alone. But we got to break through this delusional paradigm. And that's what this new moon is about, is like, grab a hold of that light, grab a hold of that wealth, contain it, love it, own it, enjoy it. How can you feel so empty when you are so full? Just because this world says, you know, it goes back to authority contracts too, which is also the Capricorn energy of like, where did you, like, somebody gets to say that you don't get to have access to your own spiritual light and energy? And that's, I mean, it's the life or death thing and being targeted over lifetimes. It's just part of it. But it does seem rather ridiculous when you can look at it from this way. And this is this place. This is this Mars square Pluto. And this is the first of 3 Mars squares Pluto. The last one happens in December. So this is a chapter for the rest of 2020. And it's all about this. It's like, you've based your whole reality on these lies. And for the supernova soul, the big lies coming up are these authority energies that you don't get to have access to your own light. You don't deserve it. You don't even have it. It's not yours to have. You got to go do a song and dance. You got to go earn it. You got to go pay a price. And so every structure of our life that's based on lies and distortion is falling away. And this, for the supernova soul, is all of this. But when that falls away, it's like a deep grief, a deep loss, a deep, I don't know who I am, because you've been living for everybody else, you know? And it's funny because it's like, you've been living for everybody else, but you've actually been kind of like accommodating and compensating, you know, for these lower karmic relationships. And it's ironic because it's like, actually, they've been living for you because their agenda, what's working through them, it's not, they don't typically know they're doing it, right? But the energies working through them are about keeping you from your path and purpose and destiny. It's like they're living for you. And there's all this energy towards you and your light and your purpose, your path, your gifts, and you feel empty, lost, and alone. And it's like these lies have got to break down, you know. So it's a potent and powerful time. Now, the sweet trine between the moon and sun and Mercury in Leo and Mars and Aries, it's like, shine your light, be who you are. Shine your light, be who you are. This is your wealth. It's like right there. But then we've got the tension of Venus square Chiron, of wounds and loss. And it feels like you'll lose everything if you let go of these control-based relationships. And it's weird though, because it's the exact opposite. Because it's like, that's how you gain back your own power and light, you know? But there's always a sense of loss, right? And then we've got Mars square Pluto and Black Moon Lilith, Mars square Pluto. The breakdown of everything's based on lies. And these are the lies that's going on for the SuperNova Soul, is these loyalty contracts and not realizing you have the gold and letting the lower energies through lower contractual relationships feed on your power, you know? And that's huge with this Leo and Aries energy, because it's talking about this energetic power that's available when you exist as a human. But even as an advanced soul, you got more access to that. And you know, so a lot of what's behind all of these dynamics for the SuperNova Soul has to do with fear of your own potency. And if you've been programmed with fear over this, what you have within you, you will disconnect. You will deny you even have it. You will say, oh, I don't even know what you're talking about. And, you know, a good way to deal with your fear of your power is to leak it out to everybody around you, right? So it's like, know that these shifts and changes you're being forced into with this destiny activation is like the deepest hidden, you know, just twisted patterns, and deep programming over lifetimes. And that might help you understand there's like, oh, this is like 10 lifetimes of stuff that I kind of had stacked up. You couldn't really deal with it till the energy shifted enough on the planet, you know? And so just that might help. But it's also this incredibly powerful, potent time to grab a hold of your wealth, decide to contain it, own it, enjoy it, you know, and like that's the step that we need to do to get back on this feeling of our destiny, our path, our finding each other, working together, you know, getting on with really living, you know, and just the energy is so strong for this right now. And that's why the clampdown is happening, right? But nothing can stop this destiny, this light, you know. They can hold it back for a little while. They can, you know, kind of, but it's more powerful than any of the anything of these structures. The light that's trying to come in is just, and so we can do our part by allowing these structures built on lies and our personality and our life in the last, you know, series of lifetimes to fall away and receive that ego death, knowing that behind the ego death is that pot of gold. So the South Node Galactic Center is a huge energy of like, because if you can't step back onto your destiny path until you've resolved these subconscious deep programming feelings and energies around feeling like you failed in your mission and you don't deserve your mission. You don't even, most supernova souls deep in their subconscious don't feel even welcome on the earth, much less to do your spiritual path and purpose, right? And we're trying to undo all of this in the span of a few years, right? But the other thing we're feeling that South Node Galactic Center pretty much the whole month of August, and also Jupiter sextile Neptune. They're still only 2 degrees apart. Jupiter in Capricorn, Neptune in Pisces. And it's like, this is the magical little key, like rearranging, entertaining completely different possibilities, dreaming that new dream. So know that these squares, the tension, the pushing us into the light that we are, pushing us to break down all these false authority and relationship lower construct program and contracts. But what that's really all about is getting us to entertain and receive this Venus in Cancer. So Venus in Cancer is in tension with Chiron, where wounds around where we haven't been able to be who we are. And it's like, how do we receive the blessings of this world if we can't receive who we really are? It's kind of like I can feel the higher selves of these supernova souls being like, you guys, you got to get your pot of gold. Then all those other things can come in, right? If those other things come in before you really fully access and own and contain your pot of gold, then you're going to just be back in the same old boat and story. So use this time, be deliberate in these energies of like, yeah, okay, here I am on the island, but that's because I have to own my treasure for myself. So very potent, powerful Leo new moon. I hope you'll consider joining me for a live activation. This is going to be on Tuesday, August 18th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. This is just a little less than 2 hours before the actual new moon. So we can just really settle into these energies, really make these energies work for us. That's the deal with the activation. It's about being present and getting the most out of the messages and activations available to us. Get the information you're looking for. There's also, it's like a guided meditation. Come into your center, receive the messages and clarity that you might need, clearing, healing energies, working together with a soul group, very potent and powerful for us to we got to pierce that veil. It's like, yes, you're on the island, you're digging up your treasure, you got to be there right now, but it's about coming back together with your tribe. So thanks so much for being here and being here on the journey with me, with us, with the SuperNova Soul tribe. And I look forward to seeing you on this new moon activation or the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.